I never thought I'd end up here. The thought of cheating was something I'd always judged. I told myself I would never be like those women. The ones who betray their husbands for the thrill, or whatever it is. But here I am, writing this, and maybe it's my way of explaining how it happened. Maybe it's my way of understanding it myself. I guess I should start from the beginning. I'm Katie, and I've been married to Jason for almost 6 years. We were the couple everyone talked about. Perfect on paper, the kind of couple who seemed to have it all together. He's the successful businessman, the steady one, always in control. Me. I'm more impulsive, the life of the party. We balanced each other, or so I thought. But over time, I stopped feeling like I mattered. Jason became this stranger who was always just there. I didn't fall out of love with him overnight, but I gradually stopped feeling anything at all. We were living together, but it was like we were in separate worlds. He was so focused on his career, always talking about his latest project, his meetings, his promotions. And I was just stuck in the same routine, day in and day out. I tried to be a good wife. I cooked his favorite meals, kept the house clean, listened to him talk about his day. But I wasn't happy anymore. Not really. Not like I used to be. He came home late, worked weekends, and when we did talk, it was about bills, chores, or his work. Nothing that made me feel like I was seen or heard. Our sex life. Non-existent. I tried to bring it up, to initiate something, but he was always too tired. After a while, I stopped trying. It felt like I was suffocating. Every day, I was fading a little more, losing myself in the monotony. And that's when I met Ryan. It was an accident at first. Just a harmless conversation at the coffee shop around the corner from my office. Ryan was the barista there, and at first, it was just small talk. How's your day going? What's your usual order? Nothing more than friendly banter. But Ryan had this easy charm about him. He wasn't like Jason. He didn't have 1,000 things on his mind. When he smiled, I actually felt like I mattered, like I was more than just a face in the crowd. We started talking more, and eventually, Ryan offered to grab coffee outside of work. He seemed genuinely interested in getting to know me. At first, I thought it was nothing, just some harmless flirting. But each time I saw him, I felt that familiar spark of excitement that I hadn't felt in a long time. It made me feel alive again. And I craved it. I didn't tell Jason about it, of course. He was so busy with his work, I knew he wouldn't notice. And to be honest, I didn't want him to. It wasn't even about Ryan at first. It was about me, my need for attention, for excitement, for something that made me feel like I was worth something beyond just being Jason's wife. Soon enough, our coffee breaks turned into lunches. He was so easy to talk to. I found myself looking forward to it, waiting for his texts, his calls. I started ignoring Jason's calls more often. Sometimes, when he came home late, I'd already be in bed pretending to be asleep, but my mind would be elsewhere. With Ryan, I told myself I wasn't going to do anything stupid. I wasn't going to cross the line. But then Ryan kissed me one afternoon, right outside the cafe. It was so unexpected. He just leaned in, and I didn't pull away. And just like that, everything I told myself about boundaries, about what was right and wrong, crumbled. I felt guilty, of course. But more than that, I felt alive. I couldn't stop thinking about him. My marriage with Jason had been like a slow, drowning feeling, but Ryan made me feel like I could breathe again, like I was someone worth noticing. That's when I made the decision. I knew it was risky, but Jason was out of town for the weekend. He was visiting his parents for a few days, and I was alone in the house. I had never been this bold before. But the thought of spending the night with Ryan, of being with him in a way I hadn't been with anyone in years, felt like a way to escape the prison I had created for myself. I decided I was going to bring him to my parents' house, a place Jason would never expect. My parents were on a week-long vacation in Florida. I was going to have the house to myself. It was the perfect opportunity. I sent Ryan a text. I have the house to myself this weekend. Want to come over? He responded almost immediately. Hell yeah. I've been waiting for you to ask. I couldn't help but smile at his response. There was something thrilling about the whole situation. The secrecy, the excitement of doing something forbidden. It felt like I was breaking free from everything that had been holding me down. I knew I was playing with fire. I knew I was walking into dangerous territory. But at that moment, I didn't care. When the day finally came, I spent hours getting ready. I picked out something sexy to wear. Something Jason would have never noticed, and made sure everything was perfect. I didn't want to think about the consequences, not yet. I just wanted to feel good for once. Ryan showed up right on time. He was wearing a leather jacket, his hair slightly tousled like he had been in a hurry to get here. When I opened the door, he grinned at me, his eyes lighting up when he saw me. "You look incredible," he said, stepping closer to kiss me. And I kissed him back, deeper this time. It felt like a promise. Like everything I had been missing for so long was suddenly right in front of me. We spent the next few hours in my parents' house, the time slipping away as we drank wine, talked, laughed, and eventually ended up in my bedroom. I wasn't thinking about Jason. I wasn't thinking about anything but the way Ryan made me feel. What I didn't know, though, was that Jason wasn't out of town. He hadn't gone to his parents' house. He had known everything from the start. The moment Ryan kissed me, everything changed. It was spontaneous, thrilling. I hadn't planned for it, but it felt so right. As if everything I had been missing, everything I had been craving, had been given to me in one heated kiss. And for the first time in what felt like forever, I didn't think about Jason. I didn't think about the life I had built with him. I only thought about this moment. Ryan. The electricity between us was undeniable. I had started with small things, casual flirty conversations over coffee, stolen glances, texts. But when Ryan's lips met mine for the first time, all those small, harmless moments disappeared into nothingness. I couldn't back away. I didn't want to. We didn't even make it to the couch before we were in my bedroom. I felt a rush. Like I was breaking free from something suffocating. My marriage. My old self. And yet, in the back of my mind, I kept telling myself that this was just a one-time thing. That it didn't mean anything. But deep down, I knew that wasn't true. I wasn't just sleeping with Ryan because I was bored. I was doing it because, for the first time in years, someone saw me. Really saw me. We kissed again, and this time I felt more alive than I had in a long time. I stripped off my clothes without even thinking, the whole situation too intoxicating to process. When we were finally lying together, his hands running over me, I still wasn't sure if I was doing the right thing. But in that moment, I didn't care. This was my time, my release from the prison I had built. Ryan was everything Jason wasn't: spontaneous, adventurous, carefree. He made me feel like I was important. Like I wasn't just someone's wife or the person who paid the bills or cooked the meals. He made me feel seen. But then, just as things were starting to get real, I heard it. A car door slammed shut. A loud engine cut off. I froze. For a second, I thought maybe I was imagining it. Maybe it was just a neighbor or someone outside. But then I heard footsteps. The unmistakable sound of heavy boots on the stairs. My heart stopped. My breath hitched in my throat. No, 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 I turned toward Ryan in a panic. His face was a mixture of confusion and concern. "What's wrong?" "I don't know." I rushed to the window, pulling the blinds aside just enough to see the driveway. My stomach dropped. There, parked in front of the house, was Jason's car. I couldn't breathe. The reality of the situation hit me like a ton of bricks. Jason was home. I had been so sure of myself, so sure that this was going to be the night I did something just for me, something that would make me feel alive again. But now the truth was crashing down on me. I turned back to Ryan, panic written all over my face. "We have to hide. He can't know you're here." Ryan raised his eyebrows, unsure how to respond. "Katie, what the hell? You told me Jason was out of town. What's going on?" "I swear to God, he was supposed to be gone. I don't know why he's here. He's never home on weekends." I felt my voice rise in a mixture of panic and anger. The situation was spiraling out of control, and I had no idea how to fix it. The sound of the front door opening made my heart sink. Jason was in the house. Jason was here. Shit. I muttered under my breath, looking around the room for some way out of this mess. "Ryan, you need to go. Now." But Ryan was frozen. He didn't move. He just stared at me like I had lost my mind. I whispered harshly, my voice shaking. "He'll see you. He'll know you were here." I rushed to pull on a robe, my hands fumbling as I tried to get dressed as quickly as I could. My brain was racing, trying to think of a way to explain this. A way to make this right, but the reality was setting in hard. There was no covering this up. There was no magic excuse to make everything better. Ryan seemed to snap out of his shock, finally moving toward the door. But before he could leave, I stopped him. "You can't just leave the way you came in," I said in a panic, glancing over at the stairs. "You'll be seen. He'll know you were here." "Shit," Ryan muttered, grabbing his jacket and heading for the back door. "I'll text you," I whispered, feeling sick. I wasn't sure if I'd even want to see him again after this. But I couldn't think about that now. He left through the back door, disappearing into the night. I stood there for a moment, my heart racing, my mind a mess. I could hear Jason's voice downstairs now, low and steady, as if he were making himself at home. I stood frozen, listening to the sounds of him walking around the house. He was home. He was right downstairs, and he knew. How long had he known? How long had he been suspicious? Was he already planning to confront me? I didn't know. But I knew one thing for sure: Jason wasn't going to let this go. I could hear his footsteps coming closer. He was climbing the stairs. I didn't have time to prepare, time to think. I couldn't face him. Not now. Not like this. But the door creaked open before I could make a move. Jason's figure filled the doorway, and for a second, I thought I might faint. His eyes locked onto mine, and for the first time in years, I saw something in them that I hadn't seen before. It wasn't anger. Not yet. It wasn't even frustration. It was disappointment. The kind of disappointment that made everything else feel small. And then, his words hit me. "You've made your choice, haven't you?" he asked, his voice barely above a whisper, but it cut through the room like a knife. I opened my mouth to speak, to say something. Anything. To explain. But the words caught in my throat. Jason didn't give me a chance to explain. "I already know, Katie," he said, his eyes never leaving mine. "I knew before I even came home tonight." My heart sank, my stomach turned. I felt like I was falling through the floor. Before I could say anything, Jason turned and walked away, his footsteps echoing down the hallway. He knew. I stood there in the silence, my mind a blur, unable to process what had just happened. How did he find out? How much did he know? Was it over? Everything was unraveling, and there was nothing I could do to stop it. It feels surreal, like a nightmare I can't wake up from. I stood there, frozen, listening to Jason's footsteps retreating down the hallway. Every part of me wanted to chase after him, to beg him to stop, to tell him that this wasn't what it seemed. But I couldn't move. I was paralyzed by the weight of what I had done. It wasn't just that I had cheated on him. It was the betrayal of the years we had spent together. The life we had built, all the love we had shared, and the promises we had made. I had broken them all. For what? For a few moments of excitement with Ryan. For the rush of feeling desired again. Was it worth it? But no matter how much guilt swirled inside me, the fact remained: Jason knew. And he wasn't going to let me pretend this wasn't happening. I heard him downstairs, his voice growing louder. He was talking to someone. My mind barely registered the words as I stood in the room, trying to steady my breathing, but it was like the walls were closing in on me. I felt like I was suffocating. Then I realized, he was talking to his family. My heart dropped into my stomach. What the hell had he done? I rushed to the stairs, standing at the top and listening, my heart hammering in my chest. "You should all sit down," Jason said, his voice calm but with an edge I couldn't ignore. "We have a lot to talk about." There was silence for a moment, and then the sound of chairs scraping against the floor. The family, my parents, his parents. They were all here waiting, just like Jason had said. I hadn't even thought about that part. He'd planned this. He'd invited them over before even confronting me. He knew. He had known. And now, he was making sure that everyone else knew too. I felt a mix of panic and anger surge through me. How dare he do this? I wasn't ready to face everyone. Not like this. I wasn't ready to be exposed. I knew what I had done was wrong. I knew I had ruined everything. But this wasn't the way I had imagined it going down. Jason, the one who had been too busy with work to even notice me, was now making this public. He wasn't giving me a chance to explain, to at least pretend like everything was okay. I stood at the top of the stairs, my feet rooted to the floor. I could hear voices now, low murmurs, the buzz of anticipation. I didn't know what Jason had told them, but I knew it couldn't be good. "Jason, please?" I whispered to myself, my hands shaking. "Don't do this." But he wasn't listening. He was already pushing forward, determined to lay everything bare. I could feel it. I could feel that everything was falling apart, and I couldn't stop it. I took a deep breath, forcing myself to move, to walk down the stairs. I couldn't stay in the room forever. I had to face it. I had to face them. As I reached the bottom of the stairs, I saw them. My parents, sitting side by side, their faces confused, their eyes filled with concern. And then Jason's family. His parents, his sister, his brother. All of them had gathered in our living room, waiting for the storm to hit. Jason stood by the window, his back to me. His posture was rigid, his jaw set. I could see the tension in him, but also something else. Something I hadn't seen before. It was the look of a man who was done. "Sit down, Katie," he said, not turning around, his voice low but full of authority. My knees felt weak, but I did as he asked. I sank into the chair next to my mom, who was staring at me, her face pale. I couldn't look at her. I couldn't look at anyone. I just stared at Jason's back, watching as he finally turned around to face me. "Everyone, I think you should know," he began, his voice steady, but I could hear the edge in it. "My wife, Katie, has been having an affair." The words hit like a punch to the stomach. I felt the air leave my lungs as my heart stuttered in my chest. I wanted to deny it, to scream that it wasn't true, but the truth was already out there. Jason had laid it bare. His words hung in the air, and I could feel the weight of every gaze on me. My mother gasped, her hand going to her mouth. My father's expression darkened, but he didn't speak. Jason's family was silent, their eyes flickering between us, not sure what to say. My stomach churned. I couldn't stand the silence, the judgment. Jason's voice cut through the tension again. I thought I was enough. I thought this marriage meant something. But apparently I was wrong. I wanted to scream, to apologize, to explain everything. But what was there to explain? How could I justify what I had done? How could I make them understand that I had felt invisible, alone? That this wasn't about Ryan, it was about me. My own emptiness, my own loneliness. But no one would see it that way. Not now. Jason didn't give me a chance to say anything. He was already talking again, his words coming faster, as if he couldn't stop now that the floodgates had opened. "I'm done," he said simply. "This is over. I'm done with the lies. Done with pretending everything's fine. You've made your choice, Katie. You've made it for both of us." My heart dropped. I wanted to reach out to him, to tell him that it wasn't what he thought. That I didn't want this to end. But I knew I couldn't. He was too far gone now. There was no turning back. "I'm not going to fight with you," Jason continued, his voice still calm but now filled with an icy resolve. "You don't deserve that. You've made your bed, Katie. Now you'll lie in it." I couldn't speak. I couldn't move. I just sat there, frozen, my heart breaking piece by piece. Jason turned to his family, his voice rising now. "I'm done with this marriage. We'll be getting a divorce. It's over." My world was crashing down around me, and I had no idea how to pick up the pieces. It was over. I couldn't believe it, but there it was. Jason had made the decision for both of us. The weight of the words still hung in the air, suffocating me with their finality. It's over. Those 3 words had shattered everything. My marriage, my life, my family, all reduced to rubble in a matter of minutes. I sat there, numb, my eyes drifting from Jason to my parents, to his family. They were all watching me, but I couldn't meet anyone's gaze. I just wanted to disappear, to crawl into a hole and never come out. How had it come to this? How had I let everything spiral so far out of control? Jason didn't wait for me to speak. He turned to his parents first. "I'm sure you've already figured this out, but I want to make it clear this marriage is over." His voice was strong, steady, but the pain in his eyes was something I couldn't ignore. This wasn't just a legal decision for him. It was personal. He had loved me. He had trusted me. And I had betrayed him. The silence in the room was deafening. My father finally spoke up, his voice harsh but filled with concern. "Jason, you don't need to be so cold about this." "Katie?" Jason cut him off, his expression hardening. "You don't get to tell me how to feel. John, you didn't watch her lie to me day after day. You didn't hear her tell me she loved me while she was sleeping with someone else." The sting of his words hit harder than anything. He was right. I didn't deserve any sympathy. My actions spoke for themselves. "Jason," I whispered, my voice trembling, "please. Let me explain. Let me." He didn't even let me finish. He turned to look at me, his eyes cold, unfeeling. "There's nothing left to explain, Katie. You've already told me everything I need to know." I felt the room closing in on me. I wanted to run, to escape. But I knew I couldn't, not anymore. Jason's parents looked at me with pity, but I didn't need their pity. I didn't deserve it. My mom, though, her face was filled with shock, and there was a hint of disappointment in her eyes too. I couldn't bear to see that. I wanted to tell her I was sorry, but how could I apologize for something so irreparable? "Mom, please, I began, but she raised her hand, silencing me. "Katie," she said softly, her voice filled with sorrow. "I never thought you'd be the one to hurt him like this. Jason was always so good to you. We all trusted you." Her words hit me like a slap in the face. And then, the weight of everything I had done hit me again, all at once. This wasn't just about me and Jason anymore. This was about everyone who had been affected by my selfish actions. Our families, our friends, people who had trusted us to be the perfect couple. I had let them all down. I never meant for this to happen, I whispered, my voice breaking. I didn't mean for any of it. I felt so alone. Jason's eyes narrowed, his jaw tightening. You chose this, Katie. You didn't have to feel alone. You had me. We had each other. But you decided to betray that. You chose Ryan over us? I couldn't argue with him. He was right. The guilt in my chest was suffocating. For a long moment, no one spoke. The silence was unbearable. And then Jason spoke again, his voice softer now, but filled with the kind of pain I had never heard from him before. I never wanted to hurt you, Katie. He said quietly, almost like he was talking to himself. I loved you. But now I just don't know who you are anymore. The person I thought I knew, she's gone. I closed my eyes, trying to hold back the tears. I had destroyed everything. The person Jason had fallen in love with, the woman he had married, was gone. And I had replaced her with someone I barely recognized myself. I'm sorry, I whispered, my voice so small it was almost drowned out by the silence. I'm so sorry, Jason. But he didn't respond. He didn't need to. There was nothing more to say. He looked at his family one last time. I'm moving out tonight. I've already arranged everything. I'm going to get the papers filed. It's done. The finality in his voice made me want to scream. To beg him to stay. But I knew better. This wasn't about pleading or bargaining. This was about the broken trust I had shattered. And once that trust was gone, there was no coming back. Jason walked toward the door, but before he left, he paused for a moment, turning back to face me. His eyes softened for a brief second, and I saw something in them. Something that I hadn't seen in a long time. But then it was gone, replaced by the cold detachment I had become all too familiar with over the past few months. I hope you figure out who you are, Katie, he said quietly. But I'm done trying to help you. And with that, he left. The door clicked shut behind him, and the sound seemed to echo through the entire house. I sat there, motionless, for what felt like an eternity. The silence in the room was oppressive. I could feel the weight of everyone's eyes on me, but I couldn't face them. Not now. Not after everything. My mom finally stood up, walking toward me. She knelt beside me, her hand resting on my shoulder. I could see the tears in her eyes, but there was no comfort in them. She wasn't sure if she could forgive me. I don't know what to say. Katie, she whispered, her voice thick with emotion. You've hurt him, and you've hurt yourself. I don't know how you're going to come back from this. I couldn't answer her. I couldn't explain how deep the regret ran, how much I hated myself for what I had done. The truth was, I wasn't sure how I was going to move forward. I had lost everything.